Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets presented by So Rare right here on Game Plus Network. Also live on our FTN Network YouTube page, listening on iTunes and Spotify. Smash the like button, rate, review, subscribe, tell a buddy. It is fantasy football season. Today we're going to take a look at the NFL rushing leaders, the odds via DraftKings. By the way, my name is Chris Meaney. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. Mean Streets here, right, Quan? Mean Streets here. Todd Whitestone in the house as well, like he is usually every Monday. If it's not him on, it's usually something going on my end, but we're happy to catch up here with Todd. We have Jordan Westburg making the MLB debut here tonight. I do expect he's going to be in the Baltimore Orioles lineup here, getting the call up here today. We're going to scan the MLB waiver wire. It is week 14 of the fantasy baseball season. It really just does come at you in waves for those that are playing in head-to-head formats. We're about 10 weeks away until we get into the head-to-head fantasy baseball playoffs. We're going to hit the wire, take a look at some of these prospects, take a look at some pitching prospects, take a look at teams that are playing 7 games for the week. Only 6 games around the diamond tonight, but that's right, we are calling them our Cincinnati Reds are on the schedule today. They're in Baltimore to take on Westburg and the Orioles. We're going to give a little bit of love to Matt McLean. We got some props. We got some pitching props. We got some picks, some totals. We have some MLB picks here for you today. The NHL Awards happening this evening. Got some predictions. I mean, it's most of I don't even think you can really sprinkle any wagers on it at this point. Like, I have a pretty good idea who's going to win most of the awards. Heavy favorites like McDavid to win the Hart and Ted Lindsay, Erik Karlsson to win the Norris Trophy, which we do have a 28-1 ticket at FTN Bets from November on Erik Karlsson, who had an historic season, really. So did Connor McDavid. We'll get into all of that in a little bit, but the first 100-point defenseman since Brian Leach 31 years ago. And Karlsson, a lot of people taking shots as a defensive game, but he was inside the top 5 in terms of takeaways as well. So a really good season from Erik Karlsson. We can go over tonight's action tomorrow, but briefly, just wanted to hit up a little bit of that. You know, things are happening in the NHL. News and notes across the board, like Pierre-Luc Dubois. Is this guy going to get traded here today? Sounds like he could potentially get traded to the Kings, and LA could have a deep center core. Anze Kopitar, who is up for Lady Bing tonight, and then Philip Deneau, good defensive center in his own right, and then adding Pierre-Luc Dubois. Also, Torey Krug reportedly won't waive his no trade clause to go to Philadelphia. Can't say I blame him. Kevin Hayes is in the news. There's lots of players, lots of rumors happening. This is a great week, really, to be an NHL fan and an NBA fan. We had the NBA draft last week. We have NBA free agency this week. We have NHL free agency just around the corner, July 1st, and the NHL draft happening this Wednesday as well. You're going to want to check out Dangle Betselli. EY is going to be in the house. The draft, of course, is in Nashville. So we'll go over all that stuff. People have been asking me about props. I'll give a couple NHL draft props, but not many. You know, I'll have a little bit of a sprinkle, but I'm not heavy into it like, you know, I have been in other drafts, like the NFL in particular. So a lot to get to here on this show. Speaking of the NFL, as I mentioned, we're going to do the rushing yard leaders. We'll take a look at that. Got to give a shout out to my guy, Alex Blickel. Keegan Bradley, 100-1 Travelers. He took it down last night. Keegan and Blickel. What a big hit for Keegan. And I saw some big hits inside the FTN Discord too. It's not too late to join the family. If you're just on the fence about, you know, betting, we can talk bankroll management. We talk, you know, we keep track of all of our bets across all sports. Thank you, Quan. FTNbets.com/free. We're running 3-day trials. Like, no excuse. Hop on over, see what we're all about. We have Discord channels broken into all the sports. And when you do have an FTN betting package, you get all picks from everybody across all sports. We give them in the big 4, PGA included, you know, NASCAR, esports. It's all happening over at FTNbets.com. You can take a look at our projections. And speaking of projections and fantasy football and things like that, we're getting a little bit closer and a little bit of a sneak peek here of a lot of the work that Jeff Ratcliffe and our guy George put in as well in the guide, which is coming your way very, very soon. And Jeff's got his handprints, of course, all over that. Look at this, 288 player profiles, advanced stats, draft strategy. Jeff's got it all broken down for you. It is very detailed, is very intense. Great work from George, and of course, great work from Ratcliffe as well. So coming very soon, the fantasy football game plan and stats guide. Taking a look at players, you know, how many times did they finish as a tight end 1, top 12 tight end for the week, RB1, top 12 RB for the week, things like that. getting into all the nitty gritty stats. And if you're a stats man or a girl, you're going to love the guide. He's going to have a couple different versions. He'll have some projections and stuff out very, very soon. We're going to take a quick break here for now on Mean Streets. Our guy Todd Whitestone is hanging by. We're going to have a little bit of a fantasy baseball conversation. You guys have any questions at any moment, you can always hop on over to our FTN Network YouTube page here in the chat section and leave them there for Todd or myself. Reach out on Twitter at Chris Meaney, slide in the DMs, meanstreets@ftn@gmail.com as well. I'm looking forward to today's show. And I have this feeling that an NHL trade is going to happen when we're on the show. I think we're going to break some news today. Don't want to jinx it, but we'll knock on wood anyways. Todd's in here next. MLB talk around the corner. Keep your lock.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Back in, Todd Whitestone, Telstar 7 in the house, courtesy of FTN Fantasy. Welcome in. Happy Monday, sir.
Yes, Mr. Meaney, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I had a great weekend. A little bit of sunshine, hit the links, watched some baseball, saw my Halos put up 25 runs in a game. That was exciting.
Yeah, they lost 2 out of 3, but they won 25-1.
Classic. Angels, all those hits that they had, I think they had 28 hits in the game, and they took out Trout and other players early, but Shohei had 7 at bats and he only had one hit. And usually it's him doing all the work and he's on the mound and nobody can help him out. But yeah, he did get some run support. But of course, they lose 2 or 3 to the Rockies. But that was at least an entertaining night. We got some prospects to talk about, you and I. Your article, catch it over at ftnfantasy.com here today for free. Halfway home, right? I said it off the top for those that are playing in head-to-head formats. This is week 13 in like Yahoo, ESPN, in those type of formats. And then the playoffs, depending on your settings, week 21, week 22. So we're about 9-10 weeks away from head-to-head playoffs. And of course, a little bit longer in rotisserie leagues. And we're talking high stakes. So we're about the halfway point. Yep. Talk to me about, what you've seen so far. I know you keep a lot of statistics. You keep a lot of data driven these articles talking about teams and trends. Is there anything that you can tell me in some sort of trend or anything in your articles that we're about halfway home here now?
Well, the main thing in the high stakes leagues, Chris, is that there's been a rookie pitcher every week that's commanded big bucks. This week it was Gavin Williams, but every week there's been at least one. And so that's done for managers, and I play in leagues which have $1,000 fab, is that it's drained almost all the fab out of the leagues. The average fab left is $194, with about half the season to
Wow.
go. So yeah, it's amazing. There's going to be a lot of $5 bids, I can tell you that. But a lot of these rookie pitchers, they seem great. They all haven't turned out great. But Gavin Williams, believe me, is one of the most talented guys. He may not turn out wonderfully this year, but he's got all the talent in the world. He can throw really hard, and he's playing for a good organization. So I certainly think if players are out there in Yahoo or CBS, they should think about picking him up if they can.
So you see here, I just jotted some notes, from your article, from, some hot pickups over at Yahoo and ESPN this morning, and taking a look at Vlad Sedler's article as well. You see the teams at 7 games, you got a favorable schedule for Detroit. They have a trip to Coors, things you want to take in all of these different things. You could create a little bit of an edge, if you're trying to get the best of your opponent every single week, like, for example, 2 starts and things like that. So highly recommend Vlad's article and your article as well. So I did list some names. You mentioned Gavin Williams. Of course, Joey Votto was back in the lineup, and the Reds continue to cook. Our Reds, are you kidding me? David Hamilton, this guy's got a ton of speed. Alec Thomas, I had on my roster last year in some spots. He is trending up. Ryan O'Hearn trending up as well with Mountcastle on the IL. Maybe they got to find a way to have this guy have steady at bats. Luis Ortez in there as well. You did talk on Gavin, and you did mention, the average money left. That does seem a little rare, doesn't it, Todd? Is this an outlier? Or is this just owners being super aggressive here?
I mean, they are aggressive, Chris, but this year it's about $100 less than it was the last 2 years. So, I mean, it's just been a confluence of factors, including the fact that every week somebody's been bidding $200 or $300 on a top rookie pitcher, and they're all talented, but you got to try to hold something back. It's not easy, but you're trying to compete at the same time as you're holding back some fab.
So what do you think about Gavin Williams? What do you expect from him? Another Cleveland pitcher that's just going to come out of their minor league system and tear it up. I mean, I know he's a top pick, right? From 2021.
He's got the talent. There's no doubt. The question with him is with Paul Quantrill back, he's a journeyman, but with Quantrill coming back, is Tito Francona going to say, well, we'd rather have one of these rookies in the minors, and Williams is the last guy up, so we'll put him back down for a while. I hope that's not the fact, because Quantrill's really not as good as Gavin Williams, but that's the risk with Williams, is that there's no guarantee he stays up. But the good thing is he's got a really nice schedule if he stays there. There's a game against Kansas City, I believe, and then the Chicago Cubs.
Really amazing strikeout numbers, and just pretty small sample size, right? Like high A, double A, triple A, but amazing strikeout numbers, double-digit K per nines across all spots, and some walk command issues. We've seen 5 2/3 from him so far. A couple walks there. It's very, very small sample size so far, but yeah, I would recommend everybody. I'm seeing Yahoo. People have really jumped over the last 24, 48 hours, but he's still hovering below 40%. Out of that list, anybody catch your eye? Anybody you want to touch on here?
Well, I mean, Westburg is going to be great, but he's not available in the high stakes league till next week. But he's got over 27 homers so far this year, and he's got speed too, and he's a defender that they can move all around the diamond. So I think he'll play. So if you can pick him up, certainly he's one of the top guys too. Hamilton is a great steals play. He may not play against lefties, but he's really fast. He could steal bases if they give him the chance. And the guy I like that's on your list is Michael Garcia. He's getting a lot of run in Kansas City, and he really could add to steal and stolen bases too. So I think that's a more sneaky one, but I think that's worth picking up too.
I like Garcia. I have a couple shares, as you mentioned, some speed there. That should be KC, not KV. Hamilton, 70 stolen bases a couple of years ago in Double-A. Yeah, something about the Hamilton, Billy, David, something about Hamilton's that got a lot of speed there. Okay, all right. Alec Thomas, you believe? Arizona's playing a pretty good ball, aren't they?
I think Thomas is a good defender. They'll play him in center. It's a good team. I think he's really sort of better than when he went down to the minors before. So I think he's a good pickup too. He's not going to get you the eye-popping steals or homers, but he's a good, solid contributor.
Do you believe in Arizona? That division is pretty much up for grabs, and there's 4 teams in the running.
They need another pitcher, Chris. They need more than Kelly and Gallen. But there's hope for Brandon Pfaadt, who's another player who didn't work out the first time, but he may be up soon, and maybe he can help the rotation a bit.
Is Votto a guy that you would grab maybe just more so in an on-base leagues? I don't know if he's going to play every day, but some lefty stuff there. But man, in that lineup, I feel like as long as he's healthy, he should play 5-6 games a week for sure.
I love him as a pickup. I mean, I did pick him up myself a few times, and if he's in the middle of that lineup, like you say, he can drive in a lot of runs, and he's great at plate management. And I just feel like he'll fit in well with the younger kids. And maybe they'll set him against a few lefties, but he'll still be worth it in most leagues.
All right. So we got some pitchers for some people. We got some hitters, some nice young hitters. Is there anything else? Is there a closer or two? Play that closer game every week. I seem to do it in one of my leagues every week.
Yeah.
Chase saves.
I mean, not this week. Last week was Jordan Hicks. He's pretty much gone. Scott McGuff is another guy that if he's floating out there, he's a great pickup. But this week there wasn't a brand new one that you could bid on, I don't think.
All right. Halfway point.
Yeah.
Best team in baseball. Is it the Rays? Is it the Rangers?
I mean, for my money, I think the Braves are going to win it all unless injuries strike. They've got a hell of a lineup, and they've got decent enough pitching. They may add another one, but they're the team to beat. I mean, the Rays are good. The Orioles are good. The Rangers are good, but I just don't think anyone measures up to the Braves.
And Aaron Judge, what's the latest you're hearing about Judge? It sounds like he could miss maybe.
Yeah, he might be out till the All-Star break. I mean, he's got a torn ligament in his toe, and they're not really sure. It's kind of how painful is it to run on, and I just I'm not optimistic. But I mean, certainly they have to wait until he's fully healthy. There's no sense running him out there before then.
And the lineup is really struggling without him, right? I mean, bottom 5 here in this month of June in terms of average and runs, and they're not getting contributions elsewhere.
It's painful to watch for me, but they're one of the worst offenses in baseball over the last couple of weeks. And Bader has helped a little bit, the fact that he's back, but it's they just don't have enough without Judge in there. Rizzo's been slumping, but I feel like they could still hang on to a wild card spot, but they're not a threat to take it all, really.
I didn't mean to put you in a bad mood, Quan. I put him in. I know he follows pinstripes. I think nobody wants to hear about
it's all good.
It's all good. I guess I mean, I suppose some people do as Jays fans in the Toronto area, but yeah, no, it's all good. We can end on a positive note. The Reds continue to play unbelievable baseball. Yeah. The Reds, they're fun to watch, even if they're not winning every game. I mean, they are short of pitching too, but like that, I don't know if you saw the cycle that Ellie hit Friday. Of course.
He was at second base before the guy picked up the ball.
Well, they said, I mean, the sprint speed is tops in the bigs. So I forget the number, is like 30. And then, I mean, just Reds have been around for so long, and the cycle I think that was the first time, over 100 years, I thought I heard the broadcast say, for a Red cycle. Right. And then it was the third fewest games for anybody to come up and get a cycle.
Yes.
And he's absolutely electrifying to have a guy that, I know he's struggling right now against southpaws, but to have a switch hitting power bat with that kind of speed, the size that he brings to the table too, like he's must-watch TV. I know. I think he takes about 6 strides between bases, Chris. He's got those long strides. I mean, he's great. I mean, he's great for the game, and I think the Reds are going to score tons of runs. But by the way, tonight, that game you were referencing, the Baltimore Cincinnati, there should be a lot of runs in that game. I don't know what the total's 10. Yeah, the total's 10. I'm spoiler alert. I'm in on the Reds total 4.5, but I've been in on them, Todd, for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
I like Matt McClain. Cole
Yes.
Irvin's really struggled. Right. They're going to go righty heavy off the top of their lineup here today. So yeah, I think that they're going to. Yeah, Quan's giving us the goods. Eric Davis, last Reds player, 1989. First cycle for the Reds since 1989. So I was way off on the 100 years, but it's been quite some time. Anyways,
Yeah, really, it's been a while. It's been a while. Let's say that.
It's been a rocky ride for Reds fans, right? For quite some time, for the last few years, for sure.
I don't even think, honestly, Chris, I don't think the Reds management was really even trying for a while. What they were doing was picking up draft picks, and whether they were really had a plan or not, they've collected all these fantastic talents, and now they're sort of succeeding in spite of their plan. And so now they've got this low payroll, and they've, really what they should do is get a couple of starting pitchers, but I don't know that they're even going to do that. I think they're so surprised by the whole thing.
Yeah. They want to ride the course. I did see that they were going to be in on some pitchers though, and make some calls. Like it's not just going to sit and ride the course. So we'll see what they do. I mean, they could use Luis Castillo or Sonny Gray.
I don't think they'll get Castillo, but Gray might be.
No, I know, but they used to have them, right, Todd? Those are the guys they used to have. They just.
I know. How about maybe they can trade for Giolito? He might be available. They could go for someone like that if they really wanted to.
Is there? We'll break here in a minute. That's a good topic, and maybe we'll do it for another day as we get closer to trade deadline. Is there another name or two off the top of your head, like an arm that could be available for? Because that a lot of teams that we were talking about. Every time I talk to you about these contending teams, they're an arm or two away. I can think of like maybe some White Sox arms.
Right.
Like you mentioned Giolito. That division is up for grabs. Is there any other arms that come to mind for you that could be?
I mean, Dylan Cease, maybe Jordan Montgomery if St. Louis continues to struggle. And I don't know, maybe you could get Stroman from the Cubs. I don't know what the Cubs are doing particularly, but he's a good, solid arm. He's not a, top of the rotation guy, but one of those guys, the problem is, Chris, they've expanded the playoffs. So a lot of teams think that they're still in it, even when they're really not. So I think it'll take a couple of more weeks before people decide we want to sell. So it may be a little ways off.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox are 40-39 and like 13 games back, but they're last in the AL East, but they still are kind of hovering around a playoff spot. It'll be interesting to see, right? White Sox are 34-45. I feel like they're going to be sellers. The Mariners, they do have some arms, but they're young arms. I don't feel like they're really going to sell, although their season's been underwhelming. The Phillies season been underwhelming, but I can't see them selling. The Nats don't have any arms to sell. The Cubs 37-39. I get that. Cardinals, 32-45. Like this is a team that could sell some assets away. And like I said about the NL West, the Diamondbacks 47-32. The Giants have been on a heck of a run. It's been overshadowed by this Reds run. They're 44-34. The Dodgers are 43-34, and then the Padres are 37-41, but they could get hot at any moment too. So you're right. Just with that extra wild card on each side, these teams feel like they're going to be.
They're not that far away. I mean, it's hard to believe the Dodgers are just barely hanging on to a playoff spot, right?
I know.
They're Giants in the last wild card position. Lately. So I don't know. It's going to be fun down the stretch for me. I love watching it, and I think there will be sellers, but I think it's all going to occur at the last week before the trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll see what the the Blue Jays do. Maybe we'll talk Jays for the Toronto people next week when we have you on. Actually, holiday next week with Canada Day, Independence Day. So we'll check back in a couple weeks, and that'll be really close to MLB trade deadline. And you and I, maybe we'll put our heads together and see what arms could be available for some teams, and we'll try to see who's going to be aggressive, who's going to be buyers or sellers really at the deadline. I'd always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Todd Whitestone there at Telstar7 on the Twitter machine. Check out the article free every Monday, the Fantasy Baseball Waiver Wire article at ftnfantasy.com. We got some more MLB stuff later towards the end of the show. We are going to take a look at NFL rushing yard leaders via DraftKings. You're going to be surprised. Some big names that are going early in fantasy football drafts that are well outside the top 15 in terms of odds. We'll talk about them next here on Main Streets. Keep it locked.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare. Build your teams just like an owner. Buy, sell, or trade officially licensed digital player cards. Build your 5-player weekly lineup, and you could win rewards like tickets, autographed jerseys, and more. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare, taking Dynasty to the next level.
Welcome back in. A big shout out to Todd Whitestone there of Etienne Fantasy. Does some great work. It really is a very detailed article, and we want to get you set up for a stretch run, a fantasy baseball championship. We probably don't cover it enough, so look for that. We're going to try to call some home runs in this show moving forward. You know, with no NHL, no NBA, we're going to start to call some home runs with some props, and we can have some fun with some home run props and other props that are maybe a little bit more easier to predict than a home run, but we're going to try to have some fun with some bombs and really dive into weekend streams and 2-star pitchers and help people out. But I do want to talk some football here off the top of block 3. NFL rushing yard leaders via DraftKings. We'll do quarterback, passing yards, wide receivers. We'll do all kinds of futures here as we move forward. We've done some NFL team previews. So most regular season rushing yards. This is from DraftKings Sportsbook. Nick Chubb is the favorite. And Nick Chubb, I'm not surprised, really. You guys know I love Nick Chubb. He's a target of mine in the second round. I want him in a lot of my drafts. Plus 450 here. 1,500 rushing yards last year. He's had 1,000 really in every year of his career. As a rookie, he started 9 games, played 16, had 996. And then the second season was his big breakout campaign where he had 1,494 rushing yards. But he's had 1,000 here in 4 straight campaigns. Derrick Henry at 600. Jonathan Taylor at plus 650. Saquon Barkley and Bijan Robinson at 14-1. Josh Jacobs, who led everybody last year with 653 rushing yards. Derrick Henry just behind him, 1,538, played 1 fewer game. Ramondre Stevenson had a big breakout campaign, just over 1,000 yards. Backfield is his. Very excited about him from a fantasy football standpoint this year. Kenneth Walker, not going to do it. Miles Sanders, big season, nice bounce back season, but going from one of the best rushing offenses we've seen over the past couple of seasons with one of the best offensive lines in Philadelphia, moving to Carolina, going to play a lot of catch-up rookie quarterback. I'm in on him. Miles Sanders have a good season, but I don't think he's a good bet here at 30-1. Najee Harris and Justin Fields. How about Justin Fields at 31 as well? I mean, when you include all positions in terms of rushing yards last year, Justin Fields was just over 1,000, 1,143 rushing yards, was 7th. It went Jacobs, Henry, Chubb, Saquon, Miles Sanders, Cook, Fields, and McCaffrey. Dameon Pierce at 35-1, Javonte Williams at 35-1. That's a tough one. He's not going to be ready to go. I don't think he'll be full tilt until like October. CMC at 35-1, Aaron Jones, as well as Austin Eckler and J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon at 35-1. There's some really good names in that 35-1 range. How about Christian McCaffrey at 35-1? I know he's got some injury issues, but man, he played 17 games last year. In the 11 games with the 49ers, he averaged just under 70 rushing yards. If you work that into a 17-game season with this Niners offense and Kyle Shanahan, he's 1,100 rushing yards. It's not 1,400 like Nick Chubb and other guys, but 1,100 rushing yards is not too bad for a guy at 35-1 and what he is capable of doing, as well as what Kyle Shanahan can bring to the table. So I think in that range, if I'm looking for one, he checks a lot of boxes. We know he doesn't need a lot of touches to get the yards. Elijah Mitchell is there. Is Trey Lance going to be the starter ceiling reps? I don't think so. I think it's going to be Brock Purdy. And I really am a big believer in Kyle Shanahan, what he's been able to do with, multiple running backs over the course of his career. So you're getting a superstar back, arguably the best back in football, at least the best one in fantasy. My bet for the best back in football is Nick Chubb, but you're not going to take plus 450. I think he's the best pure runner in the game. It's a good offensive line. I think they'll pass a little bit more, but CMC at this price point is worth your time. It's not like Austin Eckler where he's going to get like 10 to 12 carries. Like it's a lot different in terms of just the attempts that these guys are going to get overall at their position. So if I'm looking at this left side of the board, I do believe there's a little bit of value at plus 450. People will tell you, nah, I don't want that plus 450. But the left side of the board here, Bijan at 14-1. I think it's a bit of a stretch. Like if I'm going to make a bet in this range, give me Saquon or give me the guy that just let in Josh Jacobs. I think Tony Pollard at 16-1 is interesting, but I think that they're going to bring in another back. I would live in this 35-1 range with CMC, J.K. Dobbins, maybe a Breece Hall. You're going to have things fall your way. We're not rooting for injuries here. Outside of that 35-1 was an Alexander Madison. You get into some rookies like Jahmyr Gibbs or Dave Montgomery. Again, not rooting for injuries, but my advice with these futures is to take some shots on guys outside of 35-1, and something would have to fall your way. If there's an injury in Detroit, I don't even want to say it because I hate to be that guy, but if Gibbs or Montgomery were to go down, all of a sudden one of those two guys has the backfield to themselves and what is a good offense, an underrated offense, and a really good offensive line, a top 5 offensive line in football. Maybe we'll do long shots some more and show you guys some other ones, but certainly the 35-1s, but the 40-1 really stood out to me in Breece Hall and also Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. Montgomery's a good back. Gibbs is a rookie. If he struggles as pass blocker, you could see Gibbs right away kind of have that Swift role, where Swift was a guy that just averaged 13 touches per game over the course of his career, where Gibbs maybe touches are very similar, and Montgomery's acting like that lead, right? And maybe he's playing good football and he deserves a few more touches. I think Dave Montgomery's a pretty good back, and he's been one of the leaders in yards after contact too in the NFL since he's entered over the last few years. I think he's a pretty strong running back. I think that's it for football talk. We're going to continue the team previews here this week, but I wanted to do some future stuff here with you guys. NHL, there's a lot of news and notes. There's some award stuff, and we'll wrap up with a couple MLB picks and props. So a little bit more to get to here on Mean Streets. We'll be back in a couple. welcome back in. By the way, I don't know if I made it clear or not, but I'm going to do Nick Chubb at plus 425. I have no problem with 4 times the money. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I know everybody wants to shoot for upside and value. I know I'm back on this. I was looking at it again in the break, just seeing what the other 40 to 1s like Dalvin Cook, Rashad Penny, Alexander Madison, don't really love it. Travis Etienne over 1,100 rushing yards last year. 4,000 is not bad. I know everyone's talking about Tank Bigsby, myself included. I've talked about Tank Bigsby. I think he might steal some goal line touches, maybe some first and second down yardage, but Travis Etienne was great last year. And Travis Etienne's going to see some soft coverage this year. He's going to see some soft boxes. They just brought in Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley adding to this squad in year 2 with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence together. Year 3 for Lawrence. I saw the big uptick in Lawrence, right? With a capable head coach, been around multiple, great quarterbacks. He was a quarterback himself in the league, done some great things with other quarterbacks. Talked about it a lot on this show, great things. He was with Andy Reid for a little bit. He's hanging out with Brett Favre and company. He's been around great coaching trees, and then doing what he did with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, and then Trevor Lawrence in year 1. Just a massive uptick. You got Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, you got Calvin Ridley. Zay Jones is an underrated wide receiver, and Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. So you're going to see some, you can't stack a box. And Travis Etienne is going to see some really nice holes, and he's explosive. 40 to 1 is not a bad little price there on Travis Etienne. But I think Nick Chubb's going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. So do with that what you want at plus 450 or 425. News and notes, NHL. What a crazy weekend. It really was. And this is going to be a wild week in the NHL. It's going to be a wild offseason because the free agent class is not good. I don't think we have it. I think it's under Dango Betzelli, and those have been hanging out. Dango Betzelli, you guys are well aware. Is that a moth flying around? There's a moth flying around here. And you guys, I didn't even need to bring it up, but I see it and it's freaking me out. All right, take a look at this. So, Avs land Ryan Johansson from the Preds. Alex Galchenyuk, he's bounced around a lot. And, the Preds are going to eat a big chunk of that salary, I believe 40%. Ryan Johansson, coming off a decent season. He's not the same goal scorer he was. I say that. He did have a good goal-scoring season this past year, but he's been known for his playmaking abilities over the past couple of years. When the Preds went on their cup run and they lost in the finals to the Penguins a few years ago, Ryan Johansson was fantastic. He suffered an injury there in the third round, was unable to play in the finals. But the Avs needed somebody. They didn't replace Nazem Kadri down the middle last year. JT Compher may be out the door, so he brings some veteran presence. He's a good get for Colorado, but man, when that year he left Columbus when he was traded for Seth Jones, I thought this guy was going to be a rock solid 30-goal scorer. He's just the one season there, and after that it's been a lot of just apples. Sean Durzi was traded to the Coyotes from the Kings for a second round pick. Big fantasy boost for Sean Durzi. He's a very loose player, up and down, defensive skills in question, but he's got a lot of offensive upside. I think he's got a real opportunity to be the number one quarterback on this power play, right? The number one defenseman on the power play, QB it. It's going to be a good PP. Say what you want about the Coyotes. I'm right there with you, but they had a decent second half. They got some skilled players. Clayton Keller's a superstar, really. And the power play they're going to score some points. So Durzi gets an uptick, seeing what else they do, the Coyotes, that is. But moving on from some pieces last year, like Shane Gostisbehere, and the name is slipping my mind. Jacob Chikrin went to Ottawa. Jordan Staal, the captain, returns to Carolina 4 times $2.9 million per season. Just over 11 there for the Hurricanes to bring back their captain. Golden Knights reportedly close to a 2-year, $4.9 million contract per year, that is, for Aiden Hill, who was fantastic in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's from Elliot Friedman, nothing concrete there. The Devils re-signed Eric Holla to a 3-year times 3.15. Wanted to give you guys the annual, the average up against the cap here rather than the total. You guys are good at math. Coyotes signed Connor Ingram, pretty cheap, under $2 million per year. Everybody wants out of Calgary. Torey Krug unwilling to waive his no trade clause. There's other news items as well. Anthony D'Angelo or Tony, rumored to be traded back to Carolina, and the Flyers traded their 3 picks for this guy as well. Daniel Barrere, who's calling the shots now in Philadelphia, clearly wants to make some moves, and I don't blame him. It hasn't been working in Philadelphia for quite some time. I think everybody is up for grabs. There's some reports the Leafs are making some calls to Travis Sanheim. You got Scott Laughton. Apparently there's according to reports, a big trade in the works between the St. Louis Blues and the Philadelphia Flyers, which will send Kevin Hayes and Scott Laughton and a bunch of players to St. Louis, and Torey Krug the other way. And I'm unsure about the other Blues players. I'm hearing Jordan Kyrou's name. They're not going to trade Kyrou. It'd be silly to trade Kyrou. The Blues have a lot of players over 30 that they need to move on from. Krug is one of those guys, but according to reports, he's unwilling to move his no trade clause. No blame him. I don't really want to go to Philadelphia at the moment either. So that's the big holdup. There's some Kings talk with Pierre-Luc Dubois moving to LA. And then again, according to reports, Frank Cirelli, other people have backed it up. And Frank is of Daily Faceoff these days. He said that really just the Calgary Flames, with everything that's gone on with the Flames, with the management, had a brain fart there. Sutter's fired, but think about everything that's going on in Calgary. Elias Lindholm, 1 year left, reportedly won't re-sign there. Noah Hannafine won't re-sign there. Mikael Backlund won't re-sign there. And Tyler Toffoli, according to reports, he won't re-sign there either. So if all those players are gone, on top of losing Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Hockey just last year, this is the team that's going to be in a massive rebuild. And again, because of the lack of free agents, I think we're going to see some big time moves and some big time trades. And it may happen as early as today here in the NHL, whether it's the Kings with Pierre-Luc Dubois moving to LA, joining Ajay Kopitar and Danault down the middle of the ice. It'd be fantastic. And even having, Quentin Byfield there, assuming he's not going the other way. There's going to be some big time trades here in the NHL. And there's two Canadian teams in particular that I think are going to be making those big time moves. And it's the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets. Look for a massive shakeup between those two squads. We're going to keep the NHL talk going. Just take a look at the awards, which are going to happen tonight, and we also have some MLB picks and props. Still got a lot to get to here. Some time to talk it through. Lots of baseball props here for you guys. We'll be back in a couple. Hang tight. Travis Etienne, 40-1. Not too bad. Hang tight.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Welcome back in. So we've been talking a lot about the free agents, and we've done it a lot on Dangle Bet Sully. So we have him here thanks to Quan. We can just chuck him up and just show you guys really that there aren't a lot of big names available via free agency. So this is why we're going to see a craziness this offseason. I'm here for it. I'm excited. I think we're going to see some teams trade up in the NHL draft. I think we're going to see some big time movement, player movement. Dmitry Orlov, I think, is the best available free agent. That's it. It's straight up, flat out. That's it. I think he's the best available free agent. The Bruins can't afford him. At least I don't think that they can afford him. They always surprise me. They're fitting guys underneath some crazy contracts. Like, how does that? But, you want to win. When you're with an organization, you have an organization like the Bruins in the season they just came off of. You want to have another shot. That's why I think Bergeron will be back one more year as well, with Krejci and the whole band back together for one more go there. But not a lot in terms of defensemen. Forwards, same sort of deal. I mean, we can cross Jordan Staal off the list. Kane, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko. Tyler Bertuzzi would be a good get. Pacioretty coming off a torn Achilles injury again. Jonathan Taves a little bit older. Jason Zucker, I wouldn't be interested. Ivan Barbashev, great. Vegas can find a way to bring him back. That'd be fantastic. Other teams may overpay because that's what you do in free agency, especially when players have really good seasons, deep playoff runs like Barbashev did. But let's be honest. Barbashev's a really good player. I think he is. I think he'd be a good get for a lot of teams. I don't know if he's a top 6 player, but he can clearly play in a top 6 role. And he was fantastic alongside Jack Eichel and Marchessault. But is he going to play with that kind of talent on a new team? We'll see. But I would have him top 5. I would probably go Bertuzzi 1. I still think Tarasenko's got a lot to offer. 2. I think Ryan O'Reilly's got a lot to offer. 3. I'd go Kane 4. Even coming off the hip surgery, still, even late in his career, he could bring a lot to the table. And I go Barbashev 5. Outside of that, Domi, Bunting, Rodriguez, these guys are just, they're just okay. Role players. None of them are top 6 players. I know they played in the top 6, but I don't think any of them are. And then goaltenders, what's Carolina going to do here? Bring back one of the two in Anderson or Ranta, Tristan Jarry. What are the Penguins going to do in goal? Who's the goalie in Pittsburgh? I don't think they should be aggressive getting a guy like Connor Hellebuck. We'll see what Spezza and Dubois do to bring in a goaltender in Pittsburgh. Gibson's been linked to Pittsburgh as well. Has had issues staying healthy. I know he's a Pennsylvania boy. Jonas Korpisalo, Cam Talbot, Varlamov, Aiden Hill, maybe off the books, quick, maybe retiring. Reimer's not a starter in the league. Varlamov could be a potential, but he's probably more of just a split. I think the goalie here with the highest ceiling is probably Anderson, and then after that, maybe Korpisalo. Hill is off the board. He's gonna be back there. NHL Awards happening tonight. These are the predictions. Not breaking any news with any of these guys. Connor McDavid, a heck of a season that he had. 82 games played, 64 goals. More all the talk. McDavid. Well, Matthews scored 60, so he's better. And McDavid's just like, you know what? I can score 62. I'm going to score 64 this year. And I'm going to put up 153 points, which was the 15th most all-time in the NHL. And just the 4th player, by the way, to put up 153 points. And Gretzky did it 9 times. Mario Lemieux did it 4 times. And Steve Yzerman did it once, 155. So an historic season for Connor McDavid. He's going to win the Hart Trophy. And, we'll give a shout out to Matthew Tkachuk, who is nominated for the Hart Trophy, and David Pastrnak. Both guys had fantastic seasons. But Connor McDavid in any other year, maybe, but not this year. McDavid, and usually that goes hand in hand with Ted Lindsay, voted on by the players as the best overall player in the league. Connor McDavid. Josh, Eric, it was like Josh Norris. What? Ottawa Sens on my mind. The Norris Trophy, James Norris. Erik Karlsson, he's going to win that. We got a 28-1. Shout out to my guy, Adam Szymanski, who brought it up to us on Dango Betselli. I think we all got in on it one day in November. And Erik Karlsson, first 100-point defenseman since Brian Leetch accomplished it 31 years ago. Karlsson also ranked 3rd amongst defensemen in takeaways. A lot of talk about his defensive game not being great from an analytical standpoint, but man, let's be honest, the team that he played on, the Sharks, it's awful. They didn't play great hockey this year. They traded Timo Meier away, and Karlsson didn't miss a beat. He was fantastic on the power play at even strength, 100 points on that Sharks team, and he really did turn back the clock. I did not see that coming from Erik Karlsson. What a phenomenal season. Now, look for him. I think he's going to get traded as well. I think the Sharks are going to sell high on him. Might have to eat a little bit of the contract, but he'd be a good get for a team that is ready to win right now. Linus Ullmark, fantastic season from him as well. The Bruins had the best season of all time, and he was a big reason why it did not carry over into the playoffs. Matty Beniers, we also have at 4-1 in the FTM Bet Tracker to win Calder. My original pick was Logan Thompson. I think he was on his way. Unfortunately for him, he suffered an injury and missed a big part of the year for the Golden Knights. Maybe they don't get to where they were without that injury. Aiden Hill filled in nicely, and Laurent Brossoit did as well. But Matty Beniers, a really nice campaign from him for the Kraken, and he is going to win Rookie of the Year. In fact, I believe they're going to Seattle, that is. They won NFL Rookie of the Year in Woolen, and they won MLB Rookie of the Year in the AL last year with Julio Rodriguez, and now they're going to get the Calder. So a fun year for Seattle fans as the young players are taking home their hardware. Jack Adams and Jim Montgomery with that season, 65 wins, 135 points from the Bees, and Patrice Bergeron there, Selke, Lady Bing. Selke, best defensive forward, Lady Bing, the award for really just playing clean hockey, a little two-way hockey, clean hockey. Anze Kopitar I had there. Mitch Marner is also a nominee. Anze Kopitar had 4 penalty minutes. This guy had 4 penalty minutes. He averaged 20 minutes per game. He had 74 points and 28 goals in 82 games. playing in a lot of key situations against opposing teams' top players, and he didn't really take any penalties. Medi in the house. Hey, means playing on any live best ball shows. We do one a week. Randall does one every Tuesday. He didn't do one last week. I have one planned. I've been trying to do them on Wednesdays. I've been trying to make that really my day off with the Sirius XM show happening on July 8th on Saturday. So I've been trying to do, I'm going to do some stuff Wednesdays, but I plan on either live record early Wednesday morning or late Tuesday night. But I'm thinking this week, Medi, I'm going to have one Thursday evening for Friday's episode of Mean Streets. I'll try to get you guys, I'll try to let you know, and you can come hang out. Maybe come hang out and draft if you want. You see the FTN Fantasy Show debuting July 8th on Sirius XM, myself, Jake Seeley, and Lauren Carpenter every Saturday at 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern time. But we're going to do one every week. I'll try to make them live. So maybe you can come draft if you want. You can ask some questions. But we do have several posted on our FTN Network YouTube page. But let's try to do one either Thursday evening or early Friday morning. We'll try to do one. I'll let you guys know as we get closer to the end of the week. But the goal is to have one every single week. I've been get some positive feedback from them. I know it may, when I'm doing it, sometimes it seems like it's a little boring. I think maybe to have somebody else with me to get a different perspective, but I am trying to change my strategy, my format, draft different players, and try to give some, advice along the way, players that I feel are going too early, too late, and some fades and things like that. So we'll do one a little bit later on in the week, but we'll be heavy underdog best ball drafts at FTN Network all the way until week 1 of the NFL season. Promo code FTN. They'll match your first deposit 100% up to $100. You can mix and match your props, do some same game parlay stuff. And speaking of that, I have a same game parlay pitching prop today that you can really only do at Bet365. Some books are now allowing it. It's tough to find, but over at Underdog, you can get it done there. Props across different sports, but also inside the same game. And we're going to talk about the White Sox and the Angels here next, as well as our Cincinnati Reds. We'll round out the show with a couple MLB picks here on Mean Streets. Back in just a moment.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Welcome back in. All right, only 6 games around the diamond in Major League Baseball, but I got a couple picks here. I'm gonna continue to ride this out with the Reds, Quan. How can we not ride this out with the Cincinnati Reds? This team, man, 40-1 to win the division, just under 3 weeks ago, and they're winning the division right now, leading it. Like, they're just playing really good baseball. Over 4.5 runs, minus 125. And I'm gonna transition into this as well. Matt McLain over 1.5 total bases at plus 100, and to go yard at plus 420. Now, Matt McLain, I should talk about the Reds. Like I mentioned that they are rolling. They're playing really good baseball, been the hottest team in Major League Baseball. They're 11th now in WOBA against Southpaws left-handed pitching. They're 5th overall in WOBA over the last 30 days. They're going to match up here in Baltimore against Cole Irving. Irvin has coughed up 15 hits and 10 homers in 14 innings at home this season in Baltimore. He's allowed 26 hits, 17 runs, 5 homers, and 11 extra base hits in 19 innings against right-handed hitters, which Matt McLain does hit righties. Right-handed, that is. And righties are slashing 321, 380, 593 slug with a 408 WOBA against him this season. He's started 5 times. He's had a couple appearances out of the pen, but he started 5 times this season, and he's allowed 19 runs and 5 homers. As for Matt McLain, only 5 homers this season, but home runs in back-to-back games. He's got a small sample size. He only has 40 plate appearances against left-handed pitching this season, but he is hitting 350 against Southpaws, 675 slug, 1.025 OPS, 325 ISO, 432 WOBA, and a 169 WRC plus. Video game like numbers, kind of. Now he hasn't played the full season. He was just called up here not that long ago, so the sample size is fairly small. But he is 3rd on the team in extra base hits against lefties. With those fewer plate appearances compared to other guys on the team, like Kevin Newman has 9 extra base hits against lefties, but he's a ground ball hitter. Matt McLain's a fly ball hitter. You know, his fly ball rate's at 40%, even against lefties sitting at 40%, which is a positive sign. And, you know, I just don't believe in Irvin. You know, he's struggled. He's struggled to keep the ball in the yard. He's struggling with command. He's getting rocked when he starts. He's getting rocked against righties. He's getting rocked at home. So I like the Reds over 4.5 runs. I like McLain over 1.5 total bases, and I like McLain to go yard. A little bit of a sprinkle, 0.5 units on the plus 420 home run, courtesy of FanDuel. The total base is 100 over at BetMGM, and the DraftKings total minus 125 over 4.5 runs. As for the 2 pitchers tonight, Reed Detmers and Dylan Cease going toe-to-toe tonight in Anaheim, Angels and the White Sox. Detmers' strikeout prop is around minus 148 over 5.5. I don't mind it as a single alone. And then for Cease at over 6.5 minus 125. But both of these guys over at Bet365 just to get 6 strikeouts, 6+ strikeouts, that pays plus 130. Both guys have a 10K per 9. Detmers is really rolling right now, 8+ strikeouts in 3 straight starts. His last one came against the Dodgers. He was fantastic at home, against Texas as well. 3.79 ERA at home, 51 strikeouts in 38 home innings, just 33 and 31 innings on the road. As for Cease, 100 punch-outs in 85 innings. He is walking a lot of guys, 4 per 9. That's why, you know, he's not really elite, because he has elite strikeout stuff. He's not an elite pitcher because his command is a little bit spotty, but 6+ K in 5 straight starts. So both pitchers in good form. And the White Sox, 23% strikeout rate is inside the top 12, 23.5 against lefties, so a touch higher, and 24% over the last 30 days, so a touch higher than their overall strikeout rate against lefties. So they're swinging and missing. Looks like they're going to sell. We talked about it with Todd as well. I think they're going to sell some assets. But Reed Detmers, if you want to take it as a single, a little bit of juice, put them both into a same-game parlay, 6+, and away you go. And if you can't get that, I think CSAT over 6.5 is in play as well. That's plus money over at DraftKings, I believe. Good luck around the diamond. I've rambled for way too long. Have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.